You done? Look here, Mr. Winch, said Mr. Fotheringay, annoyed and confused. I'm very sorry. The fact is, well, he could think of no way but the truth. I was working a miracle. He tried to speak in an offhand way, but try as he would, he couldn't. Working a... don't you talk rot. Working a miracle indeed, miracle. Well, that's downright funny. Why, you's the chap that don't believe in miracles. Fact is, this is another of your silly conjuring tricks. That's what this is. Now, I tell you... But Mr. Fotheringay never heard what Mr. Winch was going to tell him. He realized he had given himself away, flung his valuable secret to all the winds of heaven. A violent gust of irritation swept him to action. He turned on the constable swiftly and fiercely. Here, he said, I've had enough of this, I have. I'll show you a silly conjuring trick, I will. Go to Hades. Go now. He was alone. Mr. Fotheringay performed no more miracles that night, nor did he trouble to see what had become of his flowering stick. He returned to the town, scared and very quiet, and went to his bedroom. Lord, he said, it's a powerful gift, an extremely powerful gift. I didn't hardly mean as much as that. Not really. I wonder what Hades is like. He sat on the bed, taking off his boots. Struck by a happy thought, he transferred the constable to San Francisco, and without any more interference with normal causation, went soberly to bed. In the night he dreamt of the anger of Winch. The next day Mr. Fotheringay heard two interesting items of news. Someone had planted a most beautiful climbing rose against the elder Mr. Gomshot's private house in the Loughborough Road, and the river as far as Rawlings Mill was to be dragged for Constable Winch. Mr. Fotheringay was abstracted and thoughtful all that day, and performed no miracles except certain provisions for Winch, and the miracle of completing his day's work with punctual perfection, in spite of all the bee-swarm of thoughts that hummed through his mind. And the extraordinary abstraction and meekness of his manner was remarked by several people, and made a matter for jesting. For the most part he was thinking of Winch. On Sunday evening he went to chapel, and oddly enough, Mr. Maydig, who took a certain interest in occult matters, preached about things that are not lawful. Mr. Fotheringay was not a regular chapel-goer, but the system of assertive skepticism, to which I have already alluded, was now very much shaken. The tenor of the sermon threw an entirely new light on these novel gifts, and he suddenly decided to consult Mr. Maydig immediately after the service. So soon as that was determined, he found himself wondering why he had not done so before. Mr. Maydig, a lean, excitable man with quite remarkably long wrists and neck, was gratified at a request for a private conversation from a young man whose carelessness in religious matters was a subject for general remark in the town. After a few necessary delays, he conducted him to the study of the manse, which was contiguous to the chapel, seated him comfortably, and standing in front of a cheerful fire, his legs through a Rhodian arc of shadow on the opposite wall, requested Mr. Fotheringay to state his business. At first Mr. Fotheringay was a little abashed, and found some difficulty in opening the matter. "You will scarcely believe me, Mr. Maydig, I am afraid," and so forth for some time. He tried a question at last, and asked Mr. Maydig for his opinion of miracles. Mr. Maydig was still saying "well" in an extremely judicial tone when Mr. Fotheringay interrupted again. "You don't believe, I suppose, that some common sort of person, like myself, for instance, as it might be, sitting here now, might have some sort of twist inside him that made him able to do things by his will?" "It's possible," said Mr. Maydig. "Something of the sort, perhaps, is possible. If I might make free with something here, I think I might show you by a sort of experiment," said Mr. Fotheringay. "Now take the tobacco jar on the table, for instance. What I want to know is whether what I am going to do with it a miracle or not. Just half a minute, Mr. Maydig, please." He knitted his brows, pointed at the tobacco jar, and said, "Be a bowl of violets." The tobacco jar did as it was ordered. Mr. Maydig started violently at the change and stood looking from the thaumaturgist to the bowl of flowers. He said nothing. Presently he ventured to lean over the table and smell the violets. They were fresh-picked and very fine ones. Then he stared at Mr. Fotheringay again. "How did you do that?" he asked. Mr. Fotheringay pulled his mustache. "Just told it, and there you are. Is that a miracle, or is it black art, or what is it? And what do you think's the matter with me? That's what I want to ask." "It's a most extraordinary occurrence. And this day last week I knew no more than I could do things like that than you did. It came quite sudden. It's something odd about my will, I suppose, and that's as far as I can see." "Is that the only thing? Could you do other things beside that?" "Lord, yes," said Mr. Fotheringay, "just anything." He thought and suddenly recalled a conjuring entertainment he had seen. "Here," he pointed, "change into a bowl of fish. No, not that. Change into a glass bowl full of water with a goldfish swimming into it. That's better. You see that, Mr. Maydig?" "It's astonishing. It's incredible. You are either a most extraordinary... But no." "I could change it into anything," said Mr. Fotheringay, "just anything. Here, be a pigeon, will you?" In another moment a blue pigeon was fluttering round the room and making Mr. Maydig duck every time it came near him. "Stop there, will you?" said Mr. Fotheringay, and the pigeon hung motionless in the air. "I could change it back to a bowl of flowers," he said, and after replacing the pigeon on the table worked that miracle. "I expect you'll want your pipe in a bit," he said, and restored the tobacco jar. Mr. Maydig had followed all these later changes in a sort of ejaculatory silence. He stared at Mr. Fotheringay and in a very gingerly manner picked up the tobacco jar, examined it, replaced it on the table. "Well," was the only expression of his feelings. "Now, after that it's easier to explain what I came about," said Mr. Fotheringay, and proceeded to a lengthy and involved narrative of his strange experiences, beginning with the affair of the lamp and the long dragon, and complicated by persistent allusions to Winch. As he went on, the transient pride Mr. Maydig's consternation had caused passed away. He became the very ordinary Mr. Fotheringay of everyday intercourse again. Mr. Maydig listened intently, the tobacco jar in his hand, and his bearing changed also with the course of the narrative. Presently, while Mr. Fotheringay was dealing with the miracle of the third egg, the minister interrupted with a fluttering extended hand. "It is possible," he said. "It is credible. It is amazing, of course, but it reconciles a number of amazing difficulties. The power to work miracles is a gift, a peculiar quality like genius or second sight. Hitherto it has come very rarely into exceptional people. But in this case, I have always wondered at the miracle of Mahomet and at Yogi's miracles, and the miracles of Madame Blavatsky, but of course, yes, it is simply a gift. It carries out so beautifully the arguments of that great thinker." Mr. Maydig's voice sank. "His Grace the Duke of Argyll. Here we plumb some profounder law, deeper than the ordinary laws of nature. Yes, yes, go on, go on." Mr. Fotheringay proceeded to tell his misadventure with Winch, and Mr. Maydig, no longer overawed or scared, began to jerk his limbs about and interject astonishment. "It's this what troubled me most," proceeded Mr. Fotheringay. "It's this I'm most legitimately in want of advice for. Of course he's at San Francisco, wherever San Francisco may be, but of course it's awkward for both of us. As you see, Mr. Maydig, I don't see how he can understand what has happened. And I dare say he's scared and exasperated something tremendous in trying to get at me. I dare say he keeps on starting off to come here. I send him back by a miracle every few hours when I think of it, and of course that's the thing he won't be able to understand, and it's bound to annoy him, and of course if he takes a ticket every time it will cost him a lot of money. I done the best I could for him, but of course it's difficult for him to put himself in my place. I thought afterwards that his clothes might have got scorched, you know, if Hades is all it's suggested to be, before I shifted him. In that case, I suppose they have locked him up in San Francisco. Of course, I willed him a new suit of clothes on him, directly I thought of it, But you see, I'm already in a deuce of a tangle." Mr. Maydig looked serious. "I see you are in a tangle, yes. It's a difficult position. How you are to end it." He became diffuse and inconclusive. "However, we'll leave Winch for a little and discuss the larger question. I don't think this is a case of the black art or anything of the sort. I don't think there is any taint of criminality about it at all, Mr. Fotheringay. None whatever, unless you are suppressing material facts. No, it's miracles, pure miracles, miracles, if I may say so, of the highest class." He began to pace the hearthrug and gesticulate, while Mr. Fotheringay sat with his arm on the table and his head on his arm, looking worried. "I don't see how I'm going to manage about Winch," he said. "A gift of working miracles, apparently a very powerful gift," said Mr. Maydig. "We'll find a way about Winch, never fear, my dear sir. You are a most important man, a man of the most astonishing possibilities. As evidence, for example, and in other ways, the things you may do." "Yes, I've thought of a thing or two," said Mr. Fotheringay, "but some of the things come a bit twisty. You saw the fish at first. Wrong sort of bowl and wrong sort of fish, and I thought I'd ask someone." "A proper course," said Mr. Maydig, "a very proper course, altogether the proper course." He stopped and looked at Mr. Fotheringay. "It's practically an unlimited gift. Let us test your powers, for instance, if they really are all they seem to be." And so, incredible as it may seem, in the study of the little house behind the Congregational Chapel, on the evening of Sunday, November 10th, 1896, Mr. Fotheringay, egged on and inspired by Mr. Maydig, began to work miracles. The reader's attention is specially and definitely called to the date. He will object, probably, has already objected, that certain points in the story are improbable, that if any things of the sort already described had indeed occurred, they would have been in all the newspapers a year ago. The details immediately following he will find particularly hard to accept, because, among other things, they involve the conclusion that he or she, the reader in question, must have been killed in a violent and unprecedented manner more than a year ago. Now, a miracle is nothing if not improbable, and, as a matter of fact, the reader was killed in a violent and unprecedented manner a year ago. In the subsequent course of the story, that will become perfectly clear and credible, as every right-minded and reasonable reader will admit. But this is not the place for the end of the story, being but little beyond the hither side of the middle, and at first the miracles worked by Mr. Fotheringay were timid little miracles, little things with cups and parlor fitments, as feeble as the miracles of Theosophists, and feeble as they were received with awe by his collaborator. He would have preferred to settle the Winch business out of hand, but Mr. Maydig would not let him. But after they had worked a dozen of these domestic trivialities, their sense of power grew. Their imagination began to show signs of stimulation, and their ambition enlarged. Their first larger enterprise was due to hunger and the negligence of Mrs. Minchin, Mr. Maydig's housekeeper. The meal to which the minister conducted Mr. Fotheringay was certainly ill-laid and uninviting as refreshment for two industrious miracle workers, but they were seated, and Mr. Maydig was descanting in sorrow rather than in anger upon his housekeeper's shortcomings, before it occurred to Mr. Fotheringay that an opportunity lay before him. "Do you think, Mr. Maydig," he said, "if it isn't a liberty, My dear Mr. Fotheringay, of course. No, I didn't think." Mr. Fotheringay waved his hand. "What shall we have?" he said, in a large, inclusive spirit, and, at Mr. Maydig's order, revised the supper very thoroughly. "As for me," he said, eyeing Mr. Maydig's selection, "I am always particularly fond of a tankard of stout and a nice Welsh rarebit, and I'll order that. I ain't much given to Burgundy." And forthwith stout and Welsh rarebit promptly appeared at his command. They sat long at their supper, talking like equals. As Mr. Fotheringay presently perceived, with a glow of surprise and gratification of all the miracles they